Hello! Today I'm going to show you how to make this pretty and easy one shuttle edging. Here is a handkerchief I just completed. This is what it looks like. This was worked in size 40 thread, but for the purposes of this video I'm going to use size 20 so the stitches are a bit easier to see. So I'm going to do it from start to finish so you can see how to do it and how to work the corners. So you're going to start with the first ring, and we're going to hide the ends, or there's only one end because we're working with one shuttle, in this first ring. So wrap around your hand, and then I just fold the tail back like this so I can enclose it in the first few stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I like to give my tail a little tug to make sure it's nice and snug in there, and cut very close to your last stitch. So here are my first 5 stitches. The first ring is 5 stitches separated by 3 picots. So series of 5 stitches. So 5, first picot, and then 5 stitches again. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 picot, 5 stitches again. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 last picot, and 5 more stitches. 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's the first ring. Close your ring. And then reverse your work. Now I'm going to work with a picot gauge today just to show you how to use it and to make sure my spaces are very even, and to show you that you need a shorter space in one place and a longer space in the other. But I've worked this whole handkerchief edging here without a gauge, just by eyeballing my spaces, and that's the way I work most of the time. I don't often use a gauge, but I will use one today. So the first space is a small space, it's a 4mm space. So you put it on top of your thread and then wrap around your hand and back on top of the gauge, and make your first stitch, and then make sure it's very close or tight against the gauge, and the gauge is just in between the ring you previously made and your first stitch, so there's no spaces at all. So that's the first half. Second half, and you can remove your gauge straight away and your space is there. So this second ring is 8 picot 4 picot 4. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 picot, 4 stitches, 2, 3, 4 picot, 4 stitches again, 2, 3, 4. Close the ring, and we're now working on the trefoil here. So that's the small ring of the trefoil, and I'm going to make the bigger middle ring. So this ring starts with 4 stitches, then join to the previous picot. 2, 3, 4. Join to the picot of the previous ring. And then you're going to make 8 picots separated by 2 stitches. So I've made the first stitch with this join, the second stitch now, and I'm going to start making 8 picots with 2 stitches in between. So 1, 2, and I don't use a gauge for those. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The last picot is going to be the joining picot, and then I'm going to make 4 more stitches where the first one is made already to complete the picot. So 3 more. 3, 4, and close the ring. So that's the large ring, and we're going to make the second small ring for the other side. So it's 4 stitches, join to the last picot of the previous ring. 1, 2, 3, 4. Join to the picot. 4 more stitches and a picot again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a picot, and then 8 stitches. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and close the ring, making sure you don't catch your first ring into it as you close it, like this. And that's it. That's the trefoil made. Reverse work, and then use your gauge again. This little one's going to be in the way until we join to it. I'm trying to fold it out of the way. Place the gauge on top again, the 4mm, and wrap around your hand and come back on top of the gauge and make your first half stitch, and then pull it close so that the gauge is right in between the previous ring and the first stitch you've just made. So that's the first half, second half, and you can remove your gauge straight away and carry on. So now we're making again a 5 picot 5 picot 5 picot 5 ring. Fold it out of the way again. So 2, 3, 4, 5. So join to the first ring and make sure it's facing the right way, because it does move about on this first one. So make sure it's facing the right way when you join to it. You should be looking at the front side of it. Join, and then 5 stitches, 2, 3, 4, 5, picot, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the last picot, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and close the ring. Now this time you're not reversing work, because we're going to add another of these rings before we move on to the next trefoil, and you're going to use the wider bit, the 8mm gauge for this one. So place it on top as before, wrap around your hand and come back over the gauge, say like this, wrap around your hand and come back on top. Make the first half, pull it nice and snug so that your gauge is just in between the previous ring made and your first half stitch you're just making now. Make the second half, and then you can remove your gauge. And we're making another of these rings with 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and join to the previous ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, picot, 2, 3, 4, 5, last picot, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now you can reverse work and start working on the next trefoil. So I'm going to make a second one and then I'll show you how to work the corner. Again, use your, here it's the smaller gauge, the 4mm one. Okay, I've completed one more trefoil. So if you're getting ready to work the corner, the next ring, ring on this side is going to be slightly different. There's a little bit of corner I worked before to test the stitches. So because you're going to be joining them in two places, instead of being 5 picot 5 picot 5 picot 5, it's going to be a 6 and a 4 here in the middle where you're joining. So reverse work, use your small gauge, place it on top, make your first half, 2, 3, 4, 5 as before, and join to the previous ring, and 5 stitches again in a picot, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then after this picot, which is a top picot, you're going to do 4 and 6 instead of 5 and 5. So that's the first stitch done after the picot. So 2, 3, 4, picot, and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And also, because you're going to be joining these two rings together at the corner, we're not doing the longer space here in between the two. You're going to reverse work straight away after this ring and make the corner trefoil. But this little bit of bare thread here is going to be made with the wider gauge, so it's going to be made with the 8mm gauge. Place on top. So using the 8mm here, make the first stitch. And the corner trefoil has the same stitch count as the others. So 8 stitches and join. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Join, and 4 stitches, picot 4 stitches. 2, 3, 4, picot. Six, 7, 8, and close the ring. And now reverse work and use the 8mm gauge again. Place it on top, and you're going to make the next corner ring, and it's going to be 6 stitches, join, 4 stitches, join, 5 stitches, picot 5 stitches. I'll have this all written down so you can follow the pattern. 2, 3, you can remove the gauge, you can remove it at any point or you can do the whole ring, it doesn't matter. 3, 4, 5, 6. So you're just mirroring what you were doing before. So there's the 6 on this side, so 6 on this side. We're going to join. Fold that out of the way. Then 4 stitches and join again. Whoops. 3, 4 and join. and then 5 picot 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 picot and 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and close the ring. So here you are, there's your corner. Reverse work, and then use the 4mm gauge, place on top, and then make the next trefoil straight away. Remove the gauge, there's your space, your bare thread, and 8 stitches, 3, 4. Five, 6, 7, 8. And by working with this shuttle today, which does have a bit of a ratchet sound, you can hear how often I just feed a bit more thread as I work, so I don't need to stop. That's what I like about these bobbin shuttles. I don't need to stop. I just pull a little bit of my shuttle and let out a little bit of thread as I work. That's why you keep hearing that little ratchet as I go. And we're back to working on we're just going to start working on the next side. I will make the first ring using your 4mm gauge. Place it on top of your thread, wrap around your hand, and then back on top of the gauge. Try to fold your tatting out of the way. And you can make gauges out of anything, a little bit of cardboard, a little bit of plastic, whatever you have around that you can use. And close the ring. So that's it. You can see how it's gone nicely around the corner here, and you can continue working on the next side as you've been doing previously. I hope you enjoy making this edging if you decide to make it. See you next time. Bye bye.